Well, we're so glad you guys are here to celebrate a very, very special man. We love you, Mark. We love you, Gina. So we're going to start the service. Let's give it up one more time. You're going to get lots of that tonight because we love you. So we're going to start off the service with one of your favorite songs that we've done here at New Community, and I won't tell you what it is. Here we go. this body down.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Macaluso. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a couple friends here, but there's many people that don't know me, and I was privileged to be music director here at New Community Church many years. Right, brother? Yes, 15 years, Mark. That's true. And, man, it's so good to see you. We love you, and it's so good to be back here. And I want to thank everybody here for inviting my wife and I up to do it. You know, when Hollis and Mark brought me on at the turn of the century. Yeah, exactly, right? It's crazy to be able to say that. We had an instant collaboration because we just believe the same thing about music. It doesn't matter if it's jazz, rhythm and blues, Latin, folk music, if it is scripturally based and it worships God through the style, all styles are relevant. Yeah. And we had that green light from day one. And that's why this church continues to grow, because that's the culture. The music's the culture. And Mark, this next song you chose with me.
Okay.
One Easter you said to me that you wanted a song that reflected the joy and hope of the resurrection, but in a fresh way. And so we went through a stack of stuff, and nothing was right. But as soon as you heard the track on this one, you knew immediately this one was it. And your instincts were spot on. And each song we're presenting to you today, Mark, you were a huge part of, and that's why these songs have remained in NCC's culture for many years. Right. So we want to thank you for guiding this worship team as its producer, programmer, encourager, and most of all, spiritual leader. Thank you, brother. I love you.
All right.
So we're going to do something a little unique. Why don't you stand with us tonight? We're going to sing this song together. It's a surprise. Let's do it.
The God of our salvation set us free. Death, where is thy sting? The curse of sin is broken. The empty tomb stands open. Come and see. He's alive, alive, alive. Hallelujah. Alive, praise and glory to the Lamb. Alive, alive, alive. Hallelujah. grave. Let the people dance, let the people sing. Worthy is the mighty King. Worthy is the Lamb, worthy of our praise. Worthy is the one who has overcome the grave. Let the people dance, let the people sing. Worthy is the mighty King. Worthy is the Lamb, worthy of our praise. Worthy is the one who has overcome the grave. Let the people dance, let the people sing. Worthy is the mighty King. Worthy is the Lamb, worthy of our praise. Worthy is the one who has overcome the grave. Let the people dance, let the people sing. Worthy is the mighty King. Worthy of our praise. Worthy is the one who has overcome the grave. Let the people sing. Worthy is the mighty King. Worthy is the Lamb, worthy of our praise. Worthy is the one who has overcome the grave. Let the people dance, let the people sing. Worthy is the mighty King. He's alive, 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 hallelujah, alive, praise and glory to the Lamb. Alive, 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 hallelujah, alive, forever, amen. He's alive, 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 hallelujah, alive, praise and glory to the Lamb.
You may be seated.
Good evening. This is Joel Friend reporting for New Community News. We're going to take you back this evening to the year 2003, where we have a very special correspondent, Mark Bolton. Mark and a few others are on the grounds of what will be the main site of New Community Church, so we'll head to Mark now for a segment that we affectionately call Man on the Street.
Well, hey there, I'm here with a couple of my new friends. We're here on the site of the new construction project, obviously the Joshua Project, and I'm here to kind of find out what's going on the church site. And so I'd like to introduce you to very worthy gentlemen. First of all, Ben Brown. Ben, what do you do and who are you with?
I'm the construction supervisor and I'm with Bridges.
Okay, so you're the man in charge.
The man in charge.
You're like the man.
I'll be here to the end.
Okay, well, we're going to get to know you very well, I'm sure. And next to you is?
Mark Thomas, with Mark Thomas Trucking and Excavating, and we're doing the excavation on this site.
So it's Mark Thomas with Mark Thomas Excavating, huh?
Yes.
So you named the company after yourself?
Yes.
Okay, do you always like when you're a kid think you're going to drive these kind of trucks and name a company after yourself?
That's the way to go.
And you got the shirt to show it. Well, we're glad to be here with these guys, and we want to ask you a little bit about what's going on. What exactly is happening on site? Let's first throw it over to the Grand Poobah, Ben Brown. What's going on these days?
Well, we're in the process of cutting into the building pad now. That'll establish where the building's going to be. We're trucking off the bad material that's too damp to work with and bringing in material that is good to work with.
Okay, and Mark, obviously that's your company's job. Tell us a little bit of what's going on over there as Andrew pans over to take a look at that.
Yeah, over there on the other end of the building pad, that's where we're digging out the dirt out of the hillside and hauling it away from this site. And then when we are done hauling it away, we'll be bringing in good, suitable material to stabilize the ground to build the wonderful building on.
Okay. I think you told us in a meeting the other day that's kind of a saturated, wet dirt that you have to take out that's not stable, and you're pulling in a shale-based dirt that's nice and hard.
Yes.
Well, we've heard kind of the scope of what's going on in the project now, but, you know, honestly, we'd just love to see it be moving faster. Is there anything that's slowing you down at this point, Ben?
Well, some of your guys come over and hop in the equipment, hog it all day long, and it's holding us up from getting our work done.
Are you serious? Let's take a look. You've got to be kidding me. That is just not right. That is not right. Well, listen, is there anything else that's kind of causing trouble? Anybody else?
There's another guy here somewhere. We got to look for him, and he's been over here toying with all the equipment too. And like I said, we can't get anything done if your guys keep coming over here.
I'll work with him. Let's take a look and see if we can find him.
See what I mean? He's at it again.
Well, in all seriousness, we've heard from Ben. A couple of the guys from the office have been slowing him down a little bit. How about as an excavator, what's been keeping you back?
Yes, I've been hearing all this music from this job site, and I'm looking around to see where it is, and it's just all coming from one guy with the same music and the same song.
Duncan Shane. Hey, how you doing, darling? Duncan Shane. Yeah, Duncan Shane. Thank you for all the joy and pain. Yeah.
I wish he would change the song just a
Hey
little
guys,
bit.
how's it
So
going?
he just keeps doing that Donkashane tune, huh?
Donkey Shane all day.
Duncan
Man.
Shane.
Well-
Duncan Shane. Duncan Shane.
That is painful.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Well, I can see
Where
where
you
that would
from?
hold you back. Well, if we can keep Hollis and Andrew and Greg out of these guys' hair, then maybe we can get this job done. And sometime this fall, we'll all be over there having our first worship service. And I can't wait for it, and I know you can't either.
Well, how about that? Thanks to our man on the street. And, Mark, we're just so excited to celebrate you. I want to invite up a couple close friends, longtime members of our church to honor you a little bit more. You might not know this, but Mark was actually so excited about getting his doctorate that he founded a small group with physicians. And so I have up here 3 physicians. They're going to tell you just a little bit about what it was to have this kind of relationship with Mark. They kind of got an inside view. And so first we have Dr. Mark Colella. Now, Mark, when we had talked about how we would honor Mark today, you had said, one of the great things about being in a relationship with Mark is that you not only knew him inside the church, but outside. Just tell us a little bit about that with Mark.
Sure. So I was blessed not only to have Mark as our pastor, but also to have him lead a Bible study with these men, and it was truly a blessing in my life. And because of that, my relationships flourished. I was a better father, better husband to Lori, and so from the pastoral sense, I was greatly impacted by Mark. But I also had the blessing of being a friend of Mark. And we spent countless hours riding bikes together, being on vacation together, and it's some of those insights into Mark that I wanted to share to give you a sense. They're all good, don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a great impact and continues to impact me in many ways. So just to convey one story to start with, we cycle in North Park, and as with Mark, when he exercises, it's intense, and anything worth doing is worth overdoing, according to Mark. So we finished the ride, and we're just exhausted. And I said, Mark, I'm beat. I'm going home. I'm going to bed. I said, what are your plans? And he goes, well, he said, I'm actually going to go see a family who's it was a spouse who was passing away and in hospice. And I said, Mark, I don't know how you can walk into that environment with that sense of sadness, sorrowfulness, loss. I said, I'm a physician and I see sickness and people who are not doing well all the time, and I don't seek it out. It's not something that comes natural to me. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He looked at me with calmness and confidence and said, oh, Mark, I want to be there. He said, I want to be there for that family, to show them God's compassion, to show them God's love. And then as typical with Mark, everything he does is about mentorship and leadership and shepherding. And he went on to further say, this family is experiencing tremendous loss. They're experiencing tremendous hopelessness, and they don't know where to turn. He said, I need to shepherd them through that. I need to lead them through that and let them know that they're going to come out on the other side okay. And, just his sense of peace and confidence and knowing that God had enabled him with his gifts to be able to help that family in their worst times was just so impressive to me. And there was another instance, again, cycling. We did a lot of cycling together, where, if anyone who's cycled, that when you're climbing the mountain, you're suffering. And you're doing that so you can experience the thrill of the downhill. And Mark trust me, he goes way too fast. It's just not safe what he does. But, so we're talking as we're going up the hill, and he's telling me of a family who's in a fairly acute medical situation that perhaps may not be making the wisest medical decision, and he was very, very concerned about them, wanting them to, do the right thing so that they would be healthy through this situation. And I conveyed to him, he is a doctor, but not a medical doctor. So I gave him some facts about what the situation was and why it was dangerous for this family. And so just as we're going over the crest, he goes, "Oh, I need to pull over." And I'm like, "We just got this downhill ahead of us." And so we pull over, and it wasn't his tire, it wasn't his chain. He said, "I've got to call that family right now." He goes, I have to tell them because this could make a difference in their life. And so he didn't have his phone, so he used my phone to call Gina, and Gina called you to get the number and actually get a hold of that patient, because he was so concerned that he wanted to reach out that right then and there, despite his own busyness and things going on in his own life. He was, again, putting someone else's needs and desires and wants ahead of his rather than just acting, out for himself. And so I could go on numerous instances of how Mark has shown love and compassion and just allowed God's presence in his life take over where his own personal interests were just put aside. And Mark, I'm just so grateful for that friendship and just love you dearly.
I love you. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. Next, we have Dr. Joe English. And Joe, when you and I were talking about how we could honor Mark, one of the things you said right out of the gates is you said, God gives people different gifts, and you've seen some unique gifts in Mark. Tell us a little about that.
Well, first of all, Adam, thanks for having me here. It's an honor to celebrate Mark. Mark actually knew me, or actually got involved with my life before I knew him. He happened to meet my wife, Michelle, in 1988 at Clarion before I even knew Michelle. And that turned into us getting married in 92, finding the Lord together in 2000. And you have the same fire that you have back in 88, I've heard.
Tell him what she said.
What's that?
I'm afraid to be in the car with this guy. Because he's going to tell me about Jesus.
All right. Well, that's a lot for a Catholic to take at those times.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now we're here, right?
You're in charge.
So anyways, the reason I got to know you real well is, unfortunately, I had some anger management issues in 2014. And somehow all this today ends up with us having a place in Jupiter in the same neighborhood.
That's right.
Since 2020. So it all worked out well in a weird sort of way. Well, what Mark did for me was he instructed me to do a discipleship class back in 2014. And he kind of blew me off for a couple of weeks, and I was thinking, well, I guess, I'll have to get someone lower on the list at the church to help me out. And, he calls, we get together on the first day, and it was Mark who was leading the study. So Mark had found another guy, James Julius and I, and we did our discipleship. So Mark, you helped me with my walk with Christ, and one thing I had a real struggle with is I always felt I wasn't worthy to be in God's presence. So Mark put an end to that ASAP, and he says, it's because God's grace and Christ's sacrifice, you are worthy, and we're all worthy. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
We actually developed a close bond after that, not just for smoking cigars on the back porch, which you have mellowed you out a little bit, but it was the physician and pastor, how they're so similar, right? That we share the same sort of goals and objectives at work. I mean, we have to take care of people that we may not know. We have to show love and compassion to those people that we don't know. And our goal is to heal them, not physically, mentally, spiritually. Right. And it's a burden. It's a heavy burden. You have to take in some things of all personal life that other people aren't even going to tell their spouse, they're going to tell you. And the sacrifice that it takes to take yourself away from your family with that phone call in the middle of the night, or at the the girls' soccer game back in the day. There was always that component. And what was amazing about that is that you taught me to be a physician, to be more Christ-like, because you demonstrated all those facts. We did mature, I think, over the time, as we've known each other. And I feel proud, if you remember a long time ago when Mark got his doctorate, I came up here and paraded in the cap and gown regalia, and I felt proud of you for doing that because I really did push you hard on that, and it was really important. But what Mark did for me was to make me step up in my personal responsibility as a physician, as a father, as a husband, and to realize what we do at work and in everything we do is for God, is God's will and for God's glory. Hang on to that for me a second. So I want to read a scripture, Mark, as I finish up for you here, that kind of tells everything that I want to get across to you. This is Romans 12:6-13. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love, and honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. So, Mark, as I end on my thing, I could come up with a lot of other things that would be a lot more embarrassing, but we decided not to go that avenue. My thing that I've gotten is, your ability to love. You're an amazing leader, and the fact that, I try to emulate what you do for the New Community Church at my own office, and the ability to pass on a legacy that is second to none. But also what is the most, I think you pass on to everyone as an example, is that you live the scripture. And that's why I read that for you today.
Thank you, Joe. I love it.
Thank you so much, Joe. Next, we have Dr. Dave Rice. Now, Dave, when we were all speaking together, you talked about the early time when you had just got to know who Mark was, and you actually said something like, is this guy for real? It sounds too good to be true. Well, in your investigation over the past 14 years, what'd you find out?
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this time. I get to speak to my friend and the people that love him. As you can see, I wrote this out. If I was smart enough to remember this without writing it out, I would have been an interventional radiologist or a dermatologist. But here we are. Anyway. So, as Mark and Joe have stated, Mark's been an important part of my life. It's been 14 years now. His influence as a Christian husband, father, and man, I can't quantify those things. He's been a pastor, a mentor, an example of a godly man, but more than anything, he's been my friend. I remember hearing him preach, and I remember where I was sitting and watching him and wondering, is this person for real? Mark, as we know, is a dynamic, engaging speaker. He's full of life. He's full of anecdotes. But I remember wondering if Preacher Mark was the real Mark. Was this tirelessly energetic, engaging, loving, well-dressed man of God, former bodybuilder? I've seen the pictures. Yeah.
They're there.
Triathlete that I saw on Sundays. Was this just some pastoral avatar? Or was this really who this guy is? So after years of spending time with him, being out in public, being in small groups, being in his home, even on Thanksgiving, thank you so much, I can confidently report that what you see is the real Mark. The Mark that stands up here is the Mark that walks through the community. And it's remarkable. Mark loves the Lord. He loves his wife. He loves his girls. These things are true. I found them to be unfailing. What impresses me the most beyond those things is his love for the church and his love for the community. I've seen him drive hours on days off to stand by the beds of sick congregants, drive to hospitals, spend time with families when he didn't have the time, didn't have the energy. I've called him personally at odd hours to complain and to vent and to moan and to whine. And he's always stopped. He's always given me his full attention. He's always guided me wisely and lovingly. I've seen him deeply saddened, laid low, when people that he has invested in have left the church. His response has consistently for 14 years been the same. He reflects on what he could have done differently, what he could have done better, but he never allows the pain of those episodes to lead to bitterness, anger, or casual dismissal. I've seen his love of Christ with random encounters virtually every time we're in public, and anybody that's been in public with Mark knows this. I tend to naturally avoid these conversations. Mark seeks them out. I've seen him regularly go out of his way to Dunkin' Donuts or Moe's or Whole Foods just to seek out an employee there that he had a contact with, just to give them loving, kind words, just on the off chance that he was planting a seed. And he didn't expect anything in return. He didn't advertise this to anybody. He wasn't looking for any glory. He just heard the Lord's calling, and he followed it. And watching a man that I respect as much as I'd respect Mark do those things and doing them in the unseen leaves an impression that you can't buy that. You can't fake that. That's true. I've watched the way and admired the way that he's trusted the Lord in the transition of the church. This has been ongoing for a couple of years, and it's definitely been heavy on his heart and mind. As somebody that founded a church that's as wonderful as this one, it would be very easy for him to say, this is my church. Look at what I built. Mark recognizes that this is the body of the Lord. This is Christ in the community. And he is so proud of Adam, and he's so proud of Joel. And he is just thrilled with how the church is moving. And that's just a testament of servant leadership. So when I think of Mark's legacy, the words of Jesus in the parable of the bags of gold come to my mind. God entrusted Mark with bags of gold. His talent, his energy, his influence, his love, his body.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark didn't bury them and just bring them back. He went to work. He doubled the Lord's investment. Like Adam was saying earlier today, I have no doubt the words he will hear will be, well done, good and faithful servant. I love you, buddy. Thank you.
I love you.
Thanks so much, Dave. Thank you. Now, one more thing.
I'm going to jump in real quick with one thing. If Dr. Mark Bolton could come up and join us on stage. Come on. So, hey, there once was a radiologist, a dermatologist, an intensivist, and a pastor walked into a bar. No, I was going to say at the pearly gates, and I think the three of us are going to be at those pearly gates because of you, brother.
Counting on it.
So, before you get into the take it easy. Is that one? So when Mark and I were doing, always meet at Starbucks or we'd find somewhere to go. There was one time we're just sitting there in our discipleship group, and all of a sudden we heard this screech, and large accident happened, and this car flipped over and skidded right out onto Route 19 in front of us. So Mark and I, without even blinking an eyelash, were out there running. We get to the car, and the car, remember, it backfires, right? I figured, we're going to get caught on fire on top of this. So I went to help get the guy out of the car. Mark went to help the lady that hit the car. And, the way that, I always say you're the golden child.
That's what he says.
Yeah. Is that when I'm talking to the guy, I had the same scrub shirt top on. I only allowed a couple of them. And the guy, I said, well, why don't you sit down? You better put your legs up. We want you to get past that. He goes, oh, you're just saying that because you don't want to get sued. And I was like, I'm out of here. And there's Mark over there giving.
I led her to Christ baptizer that weekend, but
you stole my line.
And she gave an offering. So, hey,
that is a true story.
I got to tell this story on Mark. The first time we rode really hard on the hills, there's this 25-mile, 25 hill, 2,400 foot climb thing. We've been riding, and the last hill is the Parish Hill. And so we've been climbing all day. He gets to the middle of Parish Hill, and he's just like, I'm dead. And you remember what I said to you? I said, you're not done. You're finishing this thing. And he finished it. And we've been riding hills ever since. And so those are the kind of fun times we've had together. But I remember that. It's like, let's go, bro. We are not finished here. I love these guys, and thank you for your kind words.
We're not done yet. You gotta open this up.
Okay,
So now it's official. You can be like one of us.
Oh, wait a second.
And look at that. It says Dr. Mark Bolton, D Ministry, Pastor Emeritus. He's good. Put it on, brother.
Right now.
Thanks, Joe.
I got you the extra small. Dr. Bolton, please report to the waiting room.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Looks great.
I'm going to wear that into Moe's all the time. You know, I say that because that's the only place they call me doc.
Yeah.
And I say, well, I'm actually not a physician. They say, that's okay, you're doc. I say, that's good, I'm coming back. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Look
looks
at that.
good, Mark.
All right, you got one.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, hey, will you mind thanking these guys for letting us in a little
Thank you,
bit?
brother.
Invite the team back up.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so
Love you.
much.
Love you, brother. Love you. Thanks for those stories. Oh, that's for sure.
So this next song is an original song that my buddy Greg and I wrote, just like old times.
Just like old times.
And so we're going to ask you, we're going to put the lyrics on the screen, and we're going to see how many references you catch, Mark and Gina, how many special references you catch in this song. But this is a tribute to you.
Mark, as I mentioned earlier, you love all kinds of music, but there's one genre that you just can't live without, and that's the blues. All right. So we're going to do this for you right now.
Hey, Mark and Gina, sorry to see you go. Hey, Mark and Gina, we'll miss you more than you know. But you're moving on up, 'cause you're moving on down the coast. The man of the street is the man of the hour. What you lack in height, you pack in power like a bolt of light, and you struck our hearts. For all time you've made a mark on a daylight. Today we reminisce on old times. A few things come to mind. Ideas of sermon props, non-stop, though the Monday night service idea was a flop. That gigantic printout of Julius Caesar was one of your many crowd pleasers. And like the snow machine, we're getting loud. Mark, we've heard we made you proud. The Speedo pics were embarrassing. You can sing, you can drum, and everything beyond. You bet Josh Groban and Celine Dion. Is there anything that you can do? We all surely will miss you. May this next chapter be a blast. Just a word of advice though, stick to decaf. Don't move too fast, Mr. Dynamo. But we all know this kind of impossible. We're grateful, even if we cry and see you later, and not goodbye. Yeah. Oh, oh, say yeah, yeah. Do, 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 do. Hey, Mark and Gina, sorry to see you go. Oh, hey, Mark and Gina, we'll miss
I got to know Mark first as a pastor, but as our relationship matured, he became a dear friend, both he and Gina.
Mark has always been my pastor, but he has also been my boss. He's always been my friend. He's been my teacher, my counselor.
I feel like I was blessed by Mark's teaching and the solid biblical teaching that came from the pulpit.
I had shared with Gina that I wanted to write Mark a letter and express my gratitude for his friendship, for being there when I was at the depths and celebrating with us during the most joyous time.
When my husband was dying, Mark showed up with a cigar, which was one of the pleasures that my husband had in life. And he showed up with that cigar, and that brought joy to a dying man.
For some reason, Mark asked me to become an elder. And I think, like most of us elders, we go like, you think you're talking to the wrong guy, you know? But, you know, Mark asked and certainly prayed about it and talked to some other folks about it. And so I decided to go ahead forward with that.
The way that Mark models the love of the Lord is remarkable. And that's not just in times of desperation. It's just who he is and how he's made.
Mark and Gina, I just want to say on behalf of Kim and our family, thank you for blessing us with your friendship and your companionship, helping us through the difficult times and celebrating with us during the joyous times. And in particular, Mark, thank you for teaching me the intricacies of cigars, particularly the four wrappers, the Connecticut, the Corojo, the Habano, and the Maduro.
Mark, I know you're retiring, and I just want to thank you for allowing me to come alongside you all these years and you teaching and mentoring and seeing that potential in me. And I know that God is not done with us yet, and the best is yet to come.
Mark, I would like to say that I will not say goodbye to you, because it's not goodbye. We will always be friends, and you will always have impacted my life in so many ways. And I cannot thank you enough for that. I would like to say to you, well done, good and faithful servant. And go change the world wherever you are, because that's what you're made to do.
Well, I just want to bring up and introduce Dan Kramer. Dan pastors a church in Carrick, PA, Zion Christian Church. And he has a unique role in his pastoral ministry of pastoring many Bhutanese refugees. Mark heard about that and got alongside Dan and gave some support. Dan's going to share a few words about Mark.
Thank you, Adam. And thank you, Mark. My life is an example of the compassion of this man. I pastor a church in Carrick. It's a pretty rough area. And we found ourselves surrounded by up to 10,000 refugees from Bhutan, most of whom were Hindu. Our Sunday school at the time was 95% Hindu kids. It was a pretty exciting time. Somehow, Mark and New Community Church got a hold of this, that this was happening in the city, and wanted to come and help. So they came down. I remember Mark sitting with the refugees. They were all in their clothing, their Asian clothing and everything. And he said, yeah, this is real. I took him to see some of the families in their homes. I remember one woman smiling, telling us how rocks were being thrown at her young daughter in school. And something started to work in his heart, and we became a mission partner to New Community Church. It was probably about 2015, if I remember correctly. And about 85 people from New Community Church came to our church and did all kinds of projects. The idea was Mark saying, and Pastor Hollis as well saying, we want to help you help the refugee community round about you. And that was really amazing. I had shared the idea with people in the network I was in that they could make a difference in the lives of these refugees, but no one was actually interested. And here's Mark, who didn't have any reason to be interested. He'd never met me or my church in our lives, and yet he was the one who was willing to come down and say, we're going to stand with you, we're going to do something. And then the process of that, he became aware that I have a severely physically disabled daughter whose life pretty much is in bed because of her disabilities. And he didn't have a reason to want to meet her, but he wanted to meet her. And he's been visiting her over these years, one of the few people that she will actually allow to visit her, and has seen her through extreme suicidal times. He has seen her and me through an injustice that was so profound that I couldn't even eat 3 meals a day for about 7 months. But who was quietly present? Mark. Who gave me the assurance that God saw me in my struggles? Mark. My daughter almost died because I contacted COVID, and COVID was at its worst, and it was at a conference in the network I was in at the time. I asked people from that network to come and visit my daughter, and not one person came. Who came? Mark. He didn't have a reason. I wasn't giving a tithe here. We weren't related in ministry other than a friendship that had been established and continues. He's an older brother to me, even though I'm older than him. 50 years of ministry for me, close, 48, something like that. In all those years, only one guest speaker that I've brought in has ever said, "Don't take an offering for me." That was Mark. Every time he's come, "Mark, we're going to take an offering." No, I don't want an offering from you. I'm just here to help. Mark, you have had more of an impact in my life and my family than you know. And I just want to thank you tonight. And I'm grateful that God allowed our paths to cross. And I'm grateful that you were willing to think outside your box of your responsibilities to see some people who you had no obligation to love and care for, and you did. So I just want to thank you, and I'll hand this back to Adam at this point.
Thank you.
I was going over the bottom of the chair.
Hello again, it's Joel Friend. As you may have gathered, Mark Bolton is good at relationships, but always the learner. Our man on the street, Mark Bolton, is now, as you'll see, quite literally on the street seeking some relationship advice from some unusual sources. Let's glean some relationship wisdom.
How do you find a good date?
Well, first of all, you go to the club, find a good date. Or, church is a good place, you have to find the right woman, And I think the best place to find the right woman is church.
Yeah.
Or, I think, maybe, at work or something, because it's just, you know, you just got to find it. It doesn't matter where, you know, but I think women are just so hard to get right about now, you know, especially when it comes to a money thing, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah, money is the main object in a woman's heart right about now, you know. You know that.
All right. All right. Hey, thanks for talking to us today. I know that's how I got my wife, was with a lot of money. So take note, guys. It's the green that gets the women. Gentlemen, would you like to answer our question today?
I don't know English.
You don't know English. Where are you from?
I'm from Tibet.
Tibet? Okay, are you from Tibet also?
Yeah, me too.
Okay, how long have you been in Pittsburgh?
Since 4 days ago.
4 days ago. Do you, how do you find a good date?
Good date with whom?
With, do you date women ever? Do you ever date?
No.
Okay. All right, well, thank you and welcome to our country. Thank you. Very good. Have a good day. Okay, so maybe that's not the right person to ask about dating.
Well, Mark, 25 years. Quite an adventure. I have a friend who is fond of saying that they call it adventure because you don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
In this case, it's got a wonderful ending, and it's really not the end. It's just a pause. Very few pastors get to experience 25 years at the same church. Very few pastors get to experience have the privilege of long tenure, great staff teams, wonderful congregation. There have been a few bumps along the way, but a lot more joys. There's an old Jewish proverb, Swedish proverb, that says a shared burden is half a burden and a shared joy is a double joy. It's been a joy to have this journey with you.
Yes.
Over your 25 years, we've had the practice of doing lunch every other week for 23 of those 25 years. Take off for vacations and a conflict here and there. That's about 500 lunches. I'm not sure Karen and I have had that many lunches during the same period. And since I've had the experience of retiring, at least from NCC, let me share with you some important lessons I've learned about transition. The rest of you can simply eavesdrop. Lesson number 1. The tension of transition can lead to transformation. Much of everything that has been familiar to you over the past year, 25 years, is going to be uprooted, stripped away. The house you've lived in, the community you've been a part of, the church you've pastored, the office that you've worked out of, the staff you've done ministry with, the friends you'll be distanced from. First, sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Here's the good news. Disorientation and uncertainty is where God meets us and transforms us. Transformation never happens without tension. Uprooting all that has become familiar to you over 25 plus years is sure to create some disorientation, some uncertainty, and some tension. But remember this, Abraham encountered God in places of uncertainty, where he didn't have all the answers. It was in the desert that the people of Israel were transformed into people who could inhabit the promised land. It wasn't the miracles that they experienced in Egypt or the Red Sea that transformed them. It was in the desert that they encountered tension and uncertainty, and that's what transformed them. I remember asking Chan Gailey, who was the offensive coordinator for the Steelers for a number of seasons, went on to become head coach for the Cowboys for a couple of seasons. I said, Chan, how have you survived 15 moves during your coaching year at that point? He said, we realized that everything in our lives could be uprooted in a moment's time, and so we knew we had to build our lives around the one thing that wouldn't be taken away, and that was our relationship with Christ. Lesson number 2. Your calling is not coming to an end. It's hitting full stride. I celebrated my 70th birthday 4 years ago. The next year, Karen and I celebrated 50 years of marriage. The year after that, New Community held a celebration for 5 years of ministry. 5 decades of ministry. You know how you start to feel when you hit all those milestones? Old.
Forgetful.
When I was in my 60s, I told people I was in the fourth quarter of life. When I got into my 70s, I would tell them I was in sudden death overtime. But the good news about aging is that it gives you perspective and it gives you a sense of urgency. Perspective because you know what's really important. And urgency because you realize that that window of opportunity for impact is beginning to close. Mark, you're only 65, right?
Almost 66.
Almost 66. You know the saying, if you're not dead, you're not done. If you've got a pulse, you've got a purpose. The lifespan of the average American male is just under 80 years old. So you've got another season of ministry in front of you. And my guess is the best is yet to come. One of my new friends in the disciple-making movement is Dave Buehring, who wrote a book on vocational discipleship. I want to share with you a passage that was very encouraging and helpful to me, proved to be true. He said, I tell young people in their 20s and 30s, always remember it's more important what God is building into you than what he is doing through you. And then he goes on to quote Dr. Bobby Clinton, the leadership author who's conducted years of extensive research on Christian leaders, and he writes this: a person doesn't usually hit the full stride of their calling until they're into their late 50s or 60s. It's in that season of life where seasoned and tested character meets the mature use of one's gifts, and a God-determined sphere of influence emerges. Considering that it took Moses 2/3 of his life to be prepared for his calling, 80 of 120 years, and Jesus 11 of 33 years, it provides some helpful perspective and a new paradigm to think about our calling. Mark, you're only 65. You're just a pup. God is not done with you yet, and the best is yet to come. So, Mark, thank you for 25 years of faithful service to New Community, characterized by deep love for our people, skillful leadership, and a faithful teaching of God's Word. It's been a privilege to share the adventure with you. In the words of our beloved missionary partner, Solomon Ayite, if you want to plant something that's going to last for a season, plant a flower. If you want to plant something that's going to last for a lifetime, plant a tree. If you want to plant something that will last for eternity, plant a church. For your many contributions to New Community Church, we honor you and thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Ross.
I think my dad and my mom's legacy at New Community Church is one of faithfulness, first and foremost to God, and then to this community and through this community to the world.
My dad has given a lot of himself to make this church everything that it is, and I also think that it hasn't been him, it's been God working through him.
And one of the ways that I have seen that, for better or worse, as the daughter, has been that my dad takes any call, anytime, anywhere. He's always been very present with us, but if we are in the middle of family vacation and someone here needs him, he is there for them. And he's done the same for me and for my sister, but it's been admirable to see how he's done that, again, for God, by being there for this community, and again through this community to really the world.
He has given a lot of himself, and I am proud to have him as a dad, and he's given a lot of himself to also be a dad, but he's given a lot of himself to have this church be a priority and to help it to grow and to help it to the people to feel supported and loved and cared for.
And I don't even know all of what that has looked like, but I know it's been a lot of not only what you see on Sunday morning with him preaching and leading, but also serving behind the scenes, having a lot of counseling, which I have personally benefited from, and I know many others have as well, visiting people in their homes, in hospitals, going out into the world on service trips, and he's loved it. I've never, that I can recall, in 37 years, heard him complain about serving God. And I think my parents have brought a lot of fun to their ministry.
My dad likes to do crazy things as a part of his messages. That's always been something that he prides himself on, is entertaining people. And so one Sunday, he figured out a way to hang a rope from the stage and swing out into the crowd. And I am pretty sure this is something that happened and that it's not a dream, because when I say it, it sounds like it had to have been a dream, but I'm almost positive that he did that. And that was a sight to behold.
I was asked in school to write about a hero, and I chose my dad because not only has he devoted his life to supporting the transformation of people's lives, but also supporting their eternal salvation for life everlasting. And I couldn't then and can't now think of a more heroic way to spend your life. Thank you, Dad and Mom, for all you've done for us and for the church.
We're very proud of you both.
We love you.
Thank you, girls, so much. We have, bring those up. So as one of the ways we wanted to honor Mark, just as we did Hollis, Elaine, you good? Yep. Yeah, you got it. Great. Wonderful. One of our elders, longtime member of the church, Tim Kostelnik, he's as talented as an artist as he is a leader in the church. And so when Hollis retired, we commissioned a painting of him. And Mark, if you don't mind coming up on stage, we wanted to unveil this that will be part of our, founder's memory of the church, this painting of you.
Wait. I mean, I'm really speechless. It's a beautiful representation.
Yeah.
Can I just look at it for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I look at Hollis's. It really captures him in a pastoral moment. And this one, I don't know how you got this so right.
I mean, hours and hours. It was, but we have a backup just in case you didn't want this one.
Before you do that, I want to say nobody knew, but I asked the artist to do this one so that I could surprise all these guys. So I knew about this one, and most of them didn't. So that was my little joke.
I just assumed I
to
didn't
come
read
out
my
with
notes.
that painting of me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It might be a keeper.
Yeah. Well, I just assumed I missed the note or something like.
Yeah, you didn't know, right?
Act cool, like.
You did, because you
totally
didn't know,
planned.
right?
No,
you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Is that great? He did not know.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so funny.
I just wanted to take credit for a good joke, That's,
you were so cool.
Yeah, well, here's the backup if you don't like this one.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. We'll give you a chance to make some comments. I'm going to come up and lead us to a close in a minute here.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Well, that's really great, and it is better than the other one. I don't have a lot to say. I said my piece this morning, but it was funny that they found those man on the street interviews from years ago. Those were from a long time ago. And once again, I didn't know those were coming, but with the exception of 2 or 3 people, they don't know that I did one for them for today, for you. And they don't know that. Only Elaine and Rachel and Nate who helped me do it. So there's a new one. And I'd like to show it to you now. Is this blocking anybody? No? Okay, let's take a look.
Well, I'm here in the Strip District just for you because over the years I used to do these man on the street interviews, and I don't know, it's a while ago I last did one. I thought, I got to do one more for the church. And so we're asking people what their impressions are of Mark Bolton. Let's see what they say. Ma'am, you're looking for the mailbox. When you hear the name, here, if you don't mind, Mark Bolton, what do you think?
I don't know who that is.
How would you describe him as a personality?
Fun to listen to. Great man. Knowledgeable. He was a typical Pittsburgh icon.
Not the best looking guy.
Oh, I'm sure his wife felt differently.
Funny, nice. He seems pretty good.
But he's pretty amazing, actually. I've heard him speak a couple of times, and he is phenomenal. He has such a heart for children and for the community.
This guy brought it.
Yeah, he brought it.
Yeah.
I wish he had brought some weed to Pittsburgh like Wiz Khalifa. It would have been better.
Folks, would you like to answer a quick question today? No? Not you? Okay. Okay, thanks for... Anyway. Okay. Normal kind of Pittsburgh day. You know, when you watch these things, you think, Mark just gets everybody to stop. It's not true. It's usually about 1 out of 10. Today's a little better, but it's normally about 1 out of 10. So that's the reality. When you hear the name Mark Bolton, what do you think?
I don't know who Mark Bolton is.
Okay. All right, thanks. No problem. I won't explain it. Personality? The guy have a good personality?
He drinks a lot, but that's okay.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I heard he's a little rough around the edges.
He is. But are we all?
But I mean, getting old too, right?
Yes, he is getting old.
Time step out, do you think? Do you think he should step out?
No.
Stay in?
Stay in.
Why?
Because he deserves it. He's the best.
You think he's good?
I think he's great. Yeah, I think he's great. I think he's great for the city.
And so you'd like him to stay around and keep doing what he's doing?
Ideally, yeah.
What do you like about him? Is he a good leader?
Right now.
Yeah, right now.
Smoking causes death.
Just has such a great, joyful persona. He's always happy, positive.
Yeah. Hey, you guys have a quick second for a Pittsburgh question. Are you from Pittsburgh? No, that's good, actually. What are your... Okay, all right, thanks anyway. All right, you love Pittsburgh anyway? Yeah, don't love our city, and that's okay. I love it. Have you ever heard the name Adam Jackley, and what do you think of him? Don't know that name?
I don't know. He's still kind of fresh, so I think he has a lot of potential.
What do you think his strengths are? I mean, do you know? I mean, what do you think his strengths are as a new leader?
He has really big hands.
You think he has promise? Do you think he's going to be able to lead well?
Sure.
Not sure, right?
Not sure.
Yeah. Is he's kind of short, isn't he?
I wouldn't know. Haven't seen him.
Okay, he's a shorter guy.
Short.
Okay, you just saying that? Okay, great.
He's got a great Christian faith, and he carries that through.
He has the integrity.
He has integrity, and he's willing to, make it known and stand out, even though it's not, the popular culture.
When you hear the name Mark Bolton, what do you think? One last one. I had to do one last one for you. Well, it's been such a beautiful night to hear from so many special people in such kind ways. And I just really have one thing to say, and that is if a person's life is measured by the richness of the people they love and who love them, then I must be the richest man in the world. And so thank you, and I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Hey, just grab a seat. We have just a few more things, and then we're going to wrap up. We have a great meal prepared for you. But before we invite Mark and Gina up to just bless them and thank them so much for their ministry, I just want to bring a couple reflections myself. I've had the privilege of working alongside Mark for about 13 and a half years, and I've learned this. God made you, Mark, to be a pastor. And pastors are a strange breed. I can say that because I am one. God cobbles together this weird set of characteristics that make a pastor great. And Mark has them all. One of the most important ingredients that you need is a supportive family and a supportive wife. And you have that in spades. Gina, we want to make sure that it's known that, again, Mark hasn't let alone. He's led us alongside you, and you have contributed to this church in a host of ways. We can give her a hand. Alongside of working full-time as a teacher, you managed to serve in our church as an elder, to lead, you've taught, you've offered books. And again, like we said before, all of the unseen things you did that we'll maybe never know about this side of heaven. The way that you've just invited people into your life, in your home, and your fervent prayers for so many people in this congregation. So we're better for having you as a leader in our church as well. And Mark, you might remember this, maybe you don't. Years ago, Mark, Greg, and I sat down to a lunch at the Dive Bar. And the only way to get Mark to go to some place other than Moe's or Monticello's is if they had a special. And I think it was the Wednesday half-price burger day. So we ended up at the Dive Bar. And we sat down and we asked each other what we thought our best work was. What did we bring uniquely to New Community Church? And it wasn't a chance to pat ourselves on the back. It was a chance to own the giftings that God has given us. And when I tell you what Mark said his was, many of you will nod in agreement. He said, it's pastoral care. It's my highest and best work. Caring for people in life's most difficult situations and their best is this unique thing that I feel drawn to. I want to be in those situations where it doesn't seem like God is there because I know He is. You would know this. There's no rule books written for pastors about how you say the right thing when someone's spouse dies. There's no pat answer you can give to somebody in their 20s when they get that cancer diagnosis. And what do you say to a couple who comes to you saying, I don't know if our marriage is going to make it? And to handle those situations well, you need to be the one to bring comfort and wisdom and encouragement. And you need to point them back to God. And you have done that time and time again. And it's a room full of people that could say that they've benefited from you doing that. Staying faithful to looking for God no matter where He is, no matter how hard He is defined in a situation. You found Him and showed us where He was. And so serving people in that way was something I always wanted to do. I wanted to be like that because I wanted to be like you in that way. And Mark, in his grace, would bring me alongside him as he ministered to people in those times of need. And I got to learn by watching him do it. He knew it was a skill set that I would need if I were to take over being senior pastor of this church. And he worked tirelessly. We'd go in and we'd visit someone, and then we'd talk shop. We'd afterwards say, how'd that go? I just go, how do you know what to say in moments like that? He said, the Lord always shows up, and He always tells you what to say. And so, Mark, as you come to a close in your career here, I was wondering, how would you know that you had been successful? That thing that you've set your hand to, trying to make somebody like me, somebody that could be present in situations like that. And I want to let you know that I think your work is paid off. And this has nothing to do with patting myself on the back. But the highest praise that I always thought I could give Mark, because of that unique skill set, and I mean this down to my soul, is that if I were sick or dying, I'd want you at my bedside, because I know that you would pastor me well. You'd point me to God, and you'd usher me into His presence with all the care and grace you've done for so many people. And maybe that shows how strange we are as pastors, right? That's the highest compliment you could give me, that if I were dying, I'd want you there. And a few months ago, I was at a pastor's retreat, some senior pastors in the area, and I got away to Montana and had a couple days together. And on one night, we affirmed each other, and like good pastors, it took us 4 hours as we went around the room and just said what we saw in each other. And when they got to me, some of it was completely predictable. Strikingly handsome, everybody said that. Uncommonly witty, I think everybody said that. Humble. But the one thing they said that stuck out, and I couldn't believe my ears because I don't think I would have said it about myself, is that my friend Dave, who pastors down the street, he said, if I were sick or dying, I'd want you to be by my bedside because I know you wouldn't give up on me. Mark, he didn't say that because of anything I had in me before I met you. He said that to me because of you, because of all the work that you invested into me, all the ways that you've pastored and mentored me. I got a nice compliment because of you. And I know that everybody in this room probably gets the same. Somebody shares something about your character, and you go, if I didn't know Mark, I'm not sure I'd have that. And Mark, so as you come to a close and as you retire here, it made me think of how you finish some of your triathlons. Now, I don't know, you know this, right? That he does half Ironmans. It's an excruciating, it takes a work day to finish for really competitive people. And I remember one you were telling me about, you finished, and you said, I finished like this. My arms spread wide, and I said, I could keep going. I think that's how you're retiring. You're not all washed up. You're not done. You're finishing, and you could keep going. But now is a new season for you. It's a new season for you and Gina to start a new life where you will do the same things there that you did here. You will love people and bless people and make fast friends and bring them in close and point them back to God. So I am so grateful that you're the guy I got to take over from. And my life is better and blessed because you've been a part of it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going to sing one more song, bring them up and have a benediction, and then we'll eat some great food together. So will you stand and worship with us?
Mark, thank you for helping us see God.
No. can compare. Come, let us adore him.
Would you all have a seat? Mark and Gina, would you mind coming down as we give the benediction? I'll give the benediction, and then just stay seated. I'm going to tell you how we get from here to dinner. But Mark and Gina, what a night. You deserve every second of it, and we're so happy for you. So now, would you mind, just in this posture of prayer, receiving the benediction for you too? Yeah. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. And now, may the God of peace, who through the blood of the eternal covenant bought back from the dead our Lord Jesus, the great shepherd of the sheep, equip you with every good thing for doing his will. And may he work in you what is pleasing to him. Through Jesus Christ, to whom be the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. All right.
Love you guys. Love you guys.